Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are here for the second section of Chapter 2, which is entitled Logic. This is going to begin to delve into how we're going to be approaching logic in this course, in this chapter. And we're starting off here with a vocab word, the word statement. A statement is very simply a mathematical sentence that is either true or false, which means it has to be one or the other. It cannot be both. It cannot be neither. It's either true or false, period. There's no gray area. Okay, it's either true or false. The truth or falsity of that statement is known as its truth value. Okay, so we would say, oh, that statement is true. True is the truth value. Or we say, no, that statement is false. That's the truth value. So for example, the statement, Mr. Wills teaches pre-calculus. Well, this year I have a pre-calculus class. I am teaching pre-calculus. So the truth value of that statement is that it is true. It's only one or the other. It cannot be both. It is not possible for me to be teaching pre-calc and not teaching pre-calc. It's one or the other. Okay, so that's what a statement is. All right. When we take statements, we can actually make them more complex by combining multiple statements into what are called compound statements. Okay, so this is yet another vocab word here. A compound statement is a statement formed by combining two statements using either the word and or the word or. I know it's a little confusing to have or twice in a row there. So it's either and or. It's one or the other. It is not both. Okay. So a conjunction is another. There are also vocab words conjunction and disjunction. Okay, so we're going to define these as well here. A conjunction is a compound statement formed by using the word and. Okay, and. Okay, this statement will only be true if both of the original statements were true. Okay, it is often it's known as an intersection as well. And there is a mathematical symbol for the word and. It is either a V or a U. Okay, so it's either a V. Oh, man, I cannot get that shape to be very sharp no matter how hard I try here. Let's try again. It can either be a capital V upside down or a U. And really, this is the more advanced symbol for this. Okay, so that's the one we're going to be using this year, is the upside down capital U. That's the symbol we will be using. I always like to think of it as sort of a, here's how I like to think of it. I like to think when I see that symbol, that looks a lot like an A, right? That means and. Okay, just a thought. Okay, back to the next vocab word there is the word disjunction, which is a compound statement made using the word or. Okay, once again, in this case, this is true if either original statement was true. Only one of them has to be true for a disjunction to be true. This is also known as a union. Okay, and again for or we have symbols as well. It's either a capital V between our two statements, or it can be a capital U, which U for union. Okay, again, this is the more advanced symbol, the more accepted symbol. So that is the one that we are going to be using this year. Just keep in mind that if you ever see it as a V instead of a U, it has the same meaning. If If it opens down, it means or and. If it opens up, it means or. Okay, so that's the symbols. That's where we're going. Let's move on here. We have this last vocab word of the section, which is negation. Okay. Negation is the act of changing the truth value of a statement. In other words, we take a true statement and we make it false, or we take a false statement and we make it true. That is the act of negation. So for example, let's say that statement P, and this is how we usually name statements, is we give them a letter so we can refer to them without having to read the entire statement. Again, mathematicians are lazy. You've heard me say that before. So that statement from the previous page there, Mr. Wills teaches pre-calculus. We said earlier that that was a true statement. Okay, so we can negate that statement. This is what this symbol means. This means to negate. That the tilde, the squiggly before P would mean not P. Okay, this is the symbol for the word not. Okay, so not P, we would need to think to ourselves, well, how do we take that statement, Mr. Wills teaches pre-calculus, and change it so that the truth value is exactly the opposite of what it was before? So we started off with Mr. Wills teaches pre-calculus. The opposite of that in English would be Mr. Wills does not teach pre-calculus. This is the exact opposite statement, and it has the exact opposite truth value. The truth value of this statement is false. I do have a pre-calculus class, so this would be a false statement. P is true, not P is not true. It's false. P is true, not P is false. They have opposite truth values, yet they are describing the same relationship. This is the same sentence with the opposite truth value. Okay. Okay, so we are going to write out a compound statement, determine its truth value. And again, I said earlier that we're going to change these symbols. We're going to be using the U instead of the V. Okay, I have not recopied my notes yet, so I'm using an old version of the notes to make these videos because that's what I have at home. So in your notes, it should say P-U-R or P upside down U, not R, okay? So we have these statements. Statement P is that the figure there and the picture there, that is a triangle. Statement Q is that the figure has two congruent sides, and that statement R says the figure has three acute angles. So the way we should start this problem is figure out the truth value of the original statements. So statement P, the figure is a triangle. Well, that figure is definitely a triangle. It has three sides. That makes it, and it's a polygon, that makes it a triangle. So this is a true statement. Okay. Q, the figure has two congruent sides. Well, if we look at the picture, we've got markings on two sides that indicate that those two sides are congruent. So that is true as well. And then finally, the final statement says the figure has three acute angles. That would be false because of the right angle. We have one right angle and two acute angles, so it is not three acute angles. All right, so it wants us to write out the compound statement and determine its truth value. So this says P or R. So we would write that out. The figure is a triangle, is Q. Then we just put in the word or, and then we write out statement R. The figure has three acute angles. That is the first answer because we've written out the compound statement. Now remember that there's a difference between and or when it comes to truth value. For and, both original statements have to be true. For or, only one of the two original statements has to be true. So when we look at this and we want to know what is the truth value of this statement, because the first part, because P was true, the figure is a triangle, it doesn't matter that R is false. Okay? Because if P is true and R is false, that's enough for us to state that the truth value of the overall compound statement, because of the word or, because of or, only one has to be true, which means that this is a true statement because the yellow part of the compound statement is true. And with the word or, only one of the two original statements has to be true. So that would be a true statement. On to the second one, Q and not R is what we need to write out in words. So we'd start off by writing out Q. The figure has two congruent sides. Okay, again, what we're doing there is we are writing out Q. Okay, so we say Q, and then we insert this symbol. This symbol means and. Remember that symbol means or. Okay, so we write and then we write out not R. So we need to take R and we need to negate it. It's tricky. We need to remember that means we change its truth value. So it said the figure has 3 acute angles. We don't negate that by changing 3. We change that by inserting the word not or does not have somewhere in there. Okay, so we would say the figure does not have 3 acute angles. Okay, we've not changed the meaning, but we have changed the truth value. Okay, so that would be not R. And again, what we're looking for with the word and means that both parts, the first statement and the second statement, both have to be true. So when we look at this statement, the Q statement was true to start with, right? It was up here. We had true up here for Q. So that part's good to go. And then since R has the opposite truth value of not R, the fact that R was false means not R is true. So this statement down here says true and true, which means that overall this statement also has a true truth value. Okay, that's tricky. It is a very tricky thing. So just remember that with compound statements, the word or means only one of the two original statements has to be true. The word and means they both have to be true. Okay, moving forward here. Last example of this, I believe. Yes, last example of this, and then we'll do a second video for the Venn diagram portion of this lesson. So write out a compound statement. It's the same 3 statements, so we don't need to redo that part. The figure is a triangle, which means that P is true. The figure does have 2 congruent sides, which means that statement is true. However, there are only 2 acute angles in the picture, not 3, so the third statement is false. So C and D here are 2 more examples with the same picture. Please take a minute, pause the video, write out C and D in words, and then determine their truth values. Go. So not P would be, okay, that's what this says. This says not P and Q. And again, this symbol will be changed on your notes. It won't be pointing, it'll be a U. Okay, and this symbol won't be pointing, it'll be a U. Okay, but that doesn't matter right now. Not P and Q. So we need to change the truth value of P. So we would say the figure is not a triangle. And that not is going to change the truth value of P. And, because that's the symbol in the middle, then we insert Q. The figure has 2 congruent sides. So that's what we're looking for when we write out the statement. Now what we're going to do with that statement is we are going to determine its truth value. Remember that the word and, which is what we have in that statement, means that both parts have to be true. Well, when we negated P, when we said the figure is not a triangle, that part is false. So what we have here is false and true. The first part is false. The second part is Q. That Q is true, but that doesn't matter. If both parts are not true, then a compound statement formed with and, a conjunction, you cannot have a true conjunction unless both parts of the conjunction are true. So the fact that this part here is false makes the entire statement false. And we move on to the last one, which says not Q or R. So we would say the figure does not have 3 acute angles. That is not Q. Or, oh, I lied, that is not Q. Let's try that again. Sorry, that was not R, not Q. So let's try that again. Not Q would be the figure does not have 2 congruent sides or R, which is the figure has 3 acute angles. So then we have to determine the truth value of that statement. Remember that the word or, that word right there, means that only one part of the original figure, of the original statement, one of those 2 parts has to be true. So the first part says the figure does not have 2 congruent sides. Well, it does have 2 congruent sides, so that is false. Okay, that part is false. Okay. The second part of the statement might save us. Let's have a look at that. It says the figure has 3 acute angles. No, it doesn't. That part is also false. So since both parts are false, the truth value of the entire statement is false. That does it for the first half of section 2. We'll make a separate video for Venn diagram portion of this lesson.